you need to avoid coffee and caffeine after a concussion? So this is a really common question that I get from tons of patients, and I used to not have a great answer. So I finally was like, hey, I got to dive into the research and look at it. So let's break that down here. So the punchline is that you really want to avoid caffeine in a mild traumatic brain injury, so a concussion, a sports concussion, in those first minutes to hours after. I would say safely avoid it for about a day, 24, 48 hours, somewhere in there. But after that, you're probably okay as long as you're drinking it within normal doses of like 1 to 3 cups of coffee or tea a day, 100 to 300 milligrams of caffeine per day. So let's break this down a little bit. How does caffeine even work? Caffeine works by binding adenosine receptors in your brain. And what it does is adenosine, as it builds up throughout the day, kind of makes us sleepy, and it drives what we call sleep pressure, or your sleep drive. So as adenosine builds up, you feel more sleepy. It works with your circadian rhythm to help you sleep at night. And so the way the caffeine works is it actually blocks those adenosine receptors so that you feel more alert and awake, and that's kind of how we get some of that stimulant effect. In the context of concussion, adenosine is actually a helpful thing. So when your brain gets rattled, all this stuff goes everywhere, including glutamate and calcium, and adenosine, binding adenosine receptors, may actually regulate and suppress some of that glutamate and calcium release so that you don't have as significant of an excitotoxic episode. And so what we're looking at here is if you consume caffeine acutely, you might be blocking the beneficial effects of adenosine. And so that's not so great. So in the acute stages of concussion, we probably don't want to consume caffeine. But what if we're chronic coffee drinkers already? We had coffee the morning of our game or the morning of our car accident or whatever. That's probably still okay as long as you're not consuming coffee right after that. Why is it okay? Because the chronic consumption of caffeine may actually upregulate and cause us to produce more adenosine receptors, so that the adenosine that's naturally released when our brain gets jostled to that significant of a degree, we have more adenosine binding, having a little bit more of a regulatory effect on the calcium and glutamate release. There's more details to this. There's more fun stuff about caffeine and severe TBI and how you might actually want to consume caffeine acutely after severe TBI. But that's different than mild TBI, and there's some nuance here. But the big takeaway is I wouldn't consume it acutely. You could probably have it 1 to 3 days after, as long as you're drinking in normal doses. If you found this helpful or you learned anything new, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Give this account a follow. I appreciate you all.